Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to Time for Gardening. Today, I'm excited to take you on a journey filled with charming upcycled garden ideas, perfect for creating a stunning small cottage garden, especially if you love tiny home garden inspirations. Each idea is simple, creative, and full of character, proving that even the tiniest spaces can bloom into magical retreats. So stay with me until the end, because you'll discover 30 beautiful ways to transform everyday items into dreamy garden treasures. Let's get inspired together. In the cozy charm of a tiny garden, an old wooden ladder can be transformed into a whimsical plant stand. Each step becomes a platform for lush potted flowers, herbs, or cascading vines, adding height and vintage character to even the smallest corners. By using a vintage ladder, you not only maximize vertical space but also introduce a sense of nostalgia and creativity. It's a simple upcycling project that breathes new life into forgotten pieces, making your tiny garden feel both artistic and timeless. Wooden crates, often left abandoned, can be beautifully repurposed as charming planters in a small cottage garden. Stacked or lined along a path, they offer rustic textures and the perfect home for cheerful blooms like daisies, violas, and lavender. Arranging these crates creatively allows you to customize height and structure, crafting a garden landscape that's full of visual interest. With minimal effort, your tiny home garden becomes a layered tapestry of color, scent, and personality. Imagine repurposing an old window frame into a delightful vertical herb garden. Mounted against a tiny wall or fence, it becomes a unique showcase where thyme, rosemary, and mint thrive within rustic compartments. Not only does this technique save precious ground space, but it also brings a nostalgic cottage feel. It's a charming way to blend culinary gardening with vintage decor, letting your tiny garden bloom upward with life and aroma. Rusty watering cans, once forgotten tools, can find new purpose as adorable flower pots in tiny gardens. Filled with colorful petunias or trailing lobelia, they bring whimsy and character to small, sunny nooks. Grouping them together creates a storybook setting that feels both creative and nostalgic. It's a beautiful reminder that in gardening, just like life, the old can bloom anew with a little love and imagination. A single wooden pallet can completely transform a small outdoor space into a thriving vertical garden. With a few adjustments, the pallet slats cradle flowering plants, succulents, or herbs in a rustic cottage-style display. The best part? Pallet gardens make tiny home gardens feel lush and abundant, using barely any footprint. It's the perfect solution for maximizing beauty in compact areas while embracing upcycled charm. Old, broken tiles and pebbles can weave a stunning pathway through your tiny cottage garden. Pieced together like a mosaic, they create a whimsical trail that invites slow strolls and barefoot wanderings. Beyond practicality, these recycled paths add personality and charm to small spaces. They tell a story of creativity and care, turning even the tiniest yard into a journey filled with texture and color. Mason jars, with their vintage sparkle, make perfect hanging planters for a cottage garden fence. Filled with cheerful blooms or fragrant herbs, they sway gently in the breeze, catching the sunlight. By arranging multiple jars along the fence, you create a shimmering living tapestry. It's an easy and delightful way to transform plain fencing into an enchanting feature, bursting with cottage charm. An old weather chair can find new life when used as a whimsical flower planter. Removing the seat and replacing it with a basket or pot turns it into a focal point brimming with colorful cottage flowers. Positioned near a path or porch, the chair planter adds instant storybook charm. It's a conversation starter and a heartfelt symbol that beauty often springs from the simplest, most unexpected places. A delicate vintage birdcage can become an eye-catching centerpiece when filled with trailing plants. Ivy, string of pearls, or sweet alyssum spill elegantly through the bars, creating a fairy tale effect in small gardens. Hanging or perched on a table, the birdcage garden adds vertical interest without overwhelming the space. It's a delightful blend of romance and ingenuity, perfect for a tiny home garden looking for a magical touch. Old metal tea kettles with their curved shapes and sturdy handles make irresistible tiny planters. Nestled among moss and miniature flowers, they bring a playful fairy tale spirit to garden nooks. Combining several tea kettle planters in a cozy corner evokes the feeling of stepping into an enchanted world. It's a charming way to infuse your tiny home garden with a dash of whimsy and wonder. A rustic wooden barrel once used for storage can become a soothing fountain centerpiece in a tiny garden. With a small recirculating pump and a few stones, the sound of trickling water adds a sense of calm and timeless beauty to the space. This simple water feature not only enhances the peaceful cottage ambience, but also attracts birds and butterflies. Even the smallest garden can feel like a serene oasis with the gentle music of an upcycled barrel fountain. Old drawers from discarded dressers can be given a second life as charming garden planters. Painted in soft pastels or left naturally weathered, they cradle a medley of blooms, herbs, and trailing plants. Stacked creatively or tucked along pathways, these rustic drawer gardens add personality and layers of interest. It's a playful reminder that every small piece can contribute to a bigger, blooming story in your tiny home garden. A vintage bicycle with its worn charm becomes a whimsical display when its basket is filled with cottage flowers. Parked in a sunny corner, the bike brings movement, nostalgia, and color to even the tiniest garden space. Trailing blooms spill over the basket, creating the feeling of a garden always in motion. It's a beautiful way to blend practical upcycling with pure artistic joy in your tiny outdoor retreat. Worn-out boots, once meant for long walks, can find a delightful second life as playful planters. Filled with bright marigolds or fragrant lavender, they create a storybook charm along tiny pathways or porch steps. Each boot tells a tale of adventure and creativity, making your small garden feel deeply personal. It's a simple, heartwarming project that adds layers of character without requiring much space. Those lovely chipped teacups tucked away in storage can shine again as mini succulent gardens. Nestled with delicate plants like hens and chicks, they create tiny worlds full of intricate beauty. Arranged on a rustic table or tucked into garden nooks, these teacup planters bring a touch of delicate romance. They prove that even the smallest containers can hold vast amounts of charm. old wooden door, leaned casually against a fence or wall, transforms into a romantic trellis for climbing roses. Its weathered surface supports vibrant blooms, weaving together history and new life. This easy upcycling project adds vertical interest without crowding precious ground space. In a tiny home garden, it creates the illusion of a secret garden waiting just beyond the threshold. A recycled wine barrel cut in half becomes the perfect tiny vegetable garden bed. Tomatoes, peppers, and herbs thrive in the deep, rich soil, providing beauty and bounty just steps from your kitchen. Compact yet productive, this upcycled idea brings the joy of homegrown food to even the smallest patios or yards. It's a delightful way to merge functionality and rustic charm in your tiny home garden. Old rain gutters, given a fresh coat of paint, turn into clever hanging planters along cottage walls. Filled with strawberries, herbs, or trailing flowers, They create a cascade of color and flavor. Perfect for maximizing vertical space, gutter gardens make walls bloom with life. They are a creative, practical solution for tiny gardens longing for more greenery without sacrificing precious floor space. Repurposed metal bowls stacked atop one another form a quaint, rustic birdbath that fits beautifully into a small garden. Water shimmers in the sunlight, inviting birds and butterflies to visit. This charming feature brings movement and life to a tiny space, creating moments of joy and wonder. It's a simple project that celebrates the magic of nature while embracing the beauty of repurposed materials. A discarded wooden spool, often used for cable or wire, becomes an enchanting garden table filled with potted plants. Its circular top provides space for colorful arrangements and rustic gatherings. Surrounded by blooming pots, the spool table transforms a tiny patio or yard into a welcoming garden room. It's a creative centerpiece that invites relaxation, conversation, and appreciation of simple, handmade beauty. wooden shutters can be reborn as vertical planters, adding height and charm to tiny gardens. Attached to a wall or leaned casually against a fence, each slat can cradle small pots of colorful blooms or herbs. This simple transformation brings a cottage feel, while making excellent use of vertical space. In even the smallest outdoor nooks, an upcycled shutter invites nature to climb, spill, and thrive beautifully. Wire baskets, once used for storage, can be transformed into wall-mounted flower holders bursting with life. Lined with moss or cocoa fiber, they cradle trailing ivy, cheerful pansies, or fragrant herbs. Arranged artfully along a fence or wall, these baskets add rustic elegance without crowding the ground. They weave a tapestry of blooms and textures that makes a tiny garden feel endlessly expansive. Old dresser drawers stacked or placed thoughtfully create tiny raised beds that are full of character. Each drawer becomes a cozy home for lettuces, herbs, or cottage flowers, bringing layers of life to your garden. Perfect for gardeners who love easy access and creative design, these raised beds transform tiny spaces into thriving, organized pockets of beauty. It's a charming way to celebrate upcycling with purpose and style. Transforming a window shutter into a vertical herb garden brings greenery to even the smallest balcony walls. Tiny pots nestled along the slats burst with fresh basil, thyme, and mint, filling the air with delightful scents. This clever design maximizes vertical gardening potential while maintaining that beloved rustic cottage feel. It's a wonderful solution for tiny homes where every inch deserves a touch of life and color. Empty tin cans, painted in soft pastel colors, can be upcycled into charming hanging floral lanterns. Pierced with patterns and filled with tiny lights or blooms, they cast delicate, glowing patterns at dusk. Strung along fences or tree branches, these whimsical creations bring magic to small evening gardens. They show how simple materials with a little creativity can completely transform a tiny outdoor space. An old iron bed frame can become the dreamiest flower bed centerpiece. Planted with layers of wildflowers, roses, and trailing vines, it turns a small corner into a romantic haven straight from a fairy tale. The nostalgic curves of the frame cradle the blooms lovingly, giving structure and charm without needing much space. It's a delightful way to weave history, dreams, and nature into one tiny magical scene. Vintage mailboxes, once carriers of letters and memories, can be reborn as charming garden planters. Filled with cheerful blooms or trailing greenery, they bring a playful welcome to tiny front yards. Mounted on posts or fences, these mailbox planters add both vertical and visual interest. They remind us that every corner, even the smallest one, can become a place of beauty and joy. A broken clay pot can find new life as an enchanting fairy garden scene. Layered with miniature plants, moss, and tiny figurines, it creates a secret world tucked into a cozy garden corner. This whimsical project brings storytelling and creativity into gardening, sparking smiles and wonder. It's a magical reminder that imperfections often lead to the most beautiful and imaginative creation. Old tires painted in soft vintage hues become cheerful planters in a tiny cottage garden. Filled with marigolds, daisies, or climbing beans, they create bursts of color and texture against a rustic backdrop. Stacked, hung, or simply placed around the yard, these painted planters turn waste into wonder. They add a playful, artistic spirit to small spaces, proving that a little creativity can go a long way. A vintage metal colander with its charming holes and sturdy shape makes a perfect hanging planter. Overflowing with trailing lobelia or sweet alyssum, it sways gently in the breeze, adding movement and texture. This easy upcycled project brings cottage warmth to balconies, porches, or garden corners. It's a sweet, simple way to infuse tiny spaces with blooms, life, and a sense of cozy everyday magic. Thank you so much for joining me on this cozy garden adventure. Today we've seen how old ladders, crates, shutters, and even broken pots can breathe new life into a tiny cottage garden, bringing sustainability, creativity, and pure charm into small spaces. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Thyme for Gardening, and leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear which upcycled idea was your favorite. See you in the next video. Happy gardening, friends!